But first, I just want to highlight a fun Twitter poll that I posted a couple days ago where sometimes I post Twitter polls and I kind of think that I know how it's going to shake out, but sometimes I'm surprised a little bit. And this one I was very surprised by. I put it in Slack and I was just trying to see if people would guess before they clicked it what they thought the results would be.
Yeah.
So I tweeted, would you take a self-driving taxi / Uber? No context about like the state of it now versus how much better it might get later. Just like, would you take one? And the results, I want you to just think about this if you're listening to the podcast right now. What do you think people would say? Would you take a self-driving Uber, yes or no? 55 yes, 45 no. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah.
Mostly because there's two ways to think about the answer to that, which is one, do you like the idea of a self-driving car? Which a lot of people were like, yeah, I really have had too many bad experiences with Ubers, lots of horror stories about, can I stop at my house for a second? Can I?
Yeah.
I just need to pick up a package or meet my friend somewhere, and you're in the back of someone's car. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
People just like the idea of that never happening again, and a self-driving car solves that. But the other version of the question is, given how good the tech is now, would you currently ride in a self-driving car, or maybe wait till it's actually a little bit better and autonomous vehicles are like fully as good as a human? And I think that's another answer for a lot of people.
I think this could splinter for sure, because there's the self-driving taxis that are going through San Francisco right now, which is a small-ish metropolitan area. San Francisco is only 7 by 7 square miles, so there's not a lot of space to cover. But if you're in like Los Angeles area where everything's a highway, like none of the self-driving cars in San Francisco are going 70 miles per hour on the highway.
Right.
That's a different story.
There's still like
In some
so
ways-
many variables though.
Yeah, some might say that's easier.
I would be more afraid to take a self-driving car on the freeway.
I would be less afraid.
Really?
Well,
Based on what I've seen about self-driving technologies, the highway, which is just laned line markers, is typically the easiest thing to do. And then the more variables you add, like slowing down and adding bicyclists and pedestrians and people walking and kids running into the street, which doesn't usually happen on a highway, that's when it gets tricky. So I feel like I'd be more likely to trust it on a highway.
Yeah.
counterpoint, you'll be fine when it hits a pedestrian.
Well, I guess I just don't want to be in a car where anything weird happens.
I think also LA highway traffic is basically just
Stop and go.
letting it roll. So like that might be the safest out of everything.
Yeah.
And then you don't have some creepy Uber guy trying to talk to you the entire time. So
Yeah.
there's a benefit. I don't know, but I feel like I agree with you on this. Feels like who answered this question, I'm looking forward to it, or I don't trust it right now. I answered not trusting it right now.
Right. And I think a lot of people answer this thinking, do you like the idea of a self-driving car? Because I think if I ask, and this is also, I'm polling my audience, so it's a lot of tech-forward people, that's going to skew it as well. But I think if you just polled like a bunch of average people, you get a lot more no's.
Okay, so can we go over, did everyone here answer this poll?
Yes.
Can we take a really quick poll of the pot, see what everyone answered
Out
and
of
why they
5.
answered real quick?
Yeah, we can get a percentage.
So what'd you answer,
I
David?
answered yes. I remember when I sold my Subaru when I was in California, I said, I'm not going to buy another car until they're all self-driving.
Wow.
Which didn't happen because I needed to buy a car. But it's kind of self-driving, but not really. But either way, I've had like this magical image of self-driving cars in my head for a very long time. And I like the idea of just sort of being driven around autonomously. Because if I could drive to work and like sleep more or read or something like that, that'd be fun.
That'd be dope.
Yeah, do some work.
So let's say right now you just landed you were going to the Adobe conference and 2 taxis or Ubers showed up at the airport, one with a driver, one that's self-driving. Which one would you have gotten in? Same price, same everything?
I feel like if they are using it for consumers, it's got to be safe enough that I'm not going to get hurt. Because otherwise, it's just a complete PR nightmare. Like from what I've heard, like they've had the ability to do general safe driving for a while, and like NVIDIA has shown off their technology, and Tesla's shown off their technology, and Qualcomm, like every single developer conference ever, they show off their self-driving technology for the last 10 years. But nobody wants to be first, because if you're first and you kill someone, you destroy the entire industry, but mostly yourself.
Yeah, I think that mentality works for this because especially with self-driving cars, they have to be so much safer that they're comfortable putting it on the streets.
And even though they're safer than human drivers, as soon as one thing happens, it all gets thrown on the fact that it's self-driving.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it still has like I answered no because I feel like right
yeah,
now
sorry.
I can just I can loop off of what you're saying though is like I think like in general in a lot of ways it's probably safer than most drivers, but I still don't know, and I know it has at least a decade of information it's gathered, but there are just still so many variables you don't know what's coming on in these like all these different road like scenarios out there. Like, isn't there that one highway in San Francisco where the line was painted kind of weird and there were like 5 or 6 Teslas crashed
That was
in the
one.
same like
Yeah.
couple months,
And they literally
just because of
repainted it because
yeah
of
they
that.
repainted. This was further back, like just to be clear, this is much further back, but there's just stuff that then happens. I don't know enough about where I'm driving, if I'm picking up a taxi or an Uber. I don't think I would feel, and especially because in self-driving cars right now, there's a person behind the steering wheel that it can be like, whoa, you take over. I don't got this. If it's a taxi or an Uber, that's just an empty ass seat right there.
the
And
back
I'm not jumping forward and doing it. Like, I don't think I've got the trust on that yet.
It's crazy that as a society, we're like, instead of just laying down a few train tracks, let's try to recreate
We've got a
the
whole
human
nother-
brain, but stronger and better at driving.
That's a whole nother topic.
We will climb to biology's greatest achievements and surpass them instead of like, bus stop.
Men will literally
Software.
simulate consciousness before going to therapy.
Before literally just building a train.
Yeah. Okay. So you said no.
Yes, I said no. Ella said train as the third option.
What did you actually say, Alice?
I probably would not like if a self-driving
Wow.
car pulled up to this office to take me somewhere in today right now.
Man,
No,
I'm out of touch with the
I've been in.
I've already,
man.
I've done it already.
Yeah.
driven it or been out of touch.
No, I've been in. We did the self-driving Yandex pre-mapped route in Vegas.
Oh, right.
So I was in the back seat of
yeah.
a 10-minute ride
Right.
with nobody in the driver's seat, and I would do it again.
If you are driving from this office, and if I accidentally dox us, tell me to stop. But when you're driving from this office to New York City, when you get on the freeway, there's this really tricky maneuver where you have to get on a bridge and you're merging into a lane that's sort of coming from your back.
The one that I've
The
almost
fast
been
lane
hit at.
also.
Exactly.
I've almost been hit by that like 20 times.
What would a self-driving? There's no way the car can see backwards around
It
the
can.
blind circle.
So-
all it has is a yield sign.
Yeah. So here's what it does. This is the biggest downside I've seen with these out in the world self-driving cars. The number one problem with human drivers is they're too aggressive and they will often crash. The number one problem with these self-driving cars is they sit at the yield sign and wait for 40 minutes until there's a big enough gap for them to go,
Yeah, yeah.
and they will hold up traffic for a mile behind them because of it.
Yeah.
And that's annoying from the passenger seat, but it's technically safer.
Yeah.
And that's the biggest difference I found. If you read a lot of the headlines in San Francisco, it's like, it's not that these cars are mowing through intersections or whatever. It's just that people like, they come up to like a stop sign with like a car too far in an intersection, and then they just freeze and don't do anything. And then they cause traffic to be held up for like the
Yeah.
entire day.
I care about
is
my
awful.
image just as much as I care about my physical body. So I don't want to be the guy that everyone's pointing and laughing at why my
While you're in the
self-driving taxi can't figure out why there's a basketball in the road and just stops
Yeah.
for an hour.
It's more likely, yeah.
But no, yeah. I still think the biggest thing here is that the difference between a self-driving taxi, Uber, and its current self-driving is a person in the front seat and not a person in the front seat and taking over.
Yeah.
I think even just the taking over part
Yeah.
scares me. If that couldn't happen, I don't think I want to be the guy in the backseat when that happens.
The one Waymo, is it Waymo? Yeah, the one Waymo that got in that really bad accident had a human driver that was supposed to take over, but he didn't.
Yeah.
So-
and that's also a lot. That's why I say it's psychological. It's because it's basically like, how good does the tech get and how much do you trust it?
Yeah.
You just
that's
put
gonna be the
Tesla
answer.
bot in there.
Well, then do you trust Tesla bot? Jeez.
Tesla bot is the redundant like takeover if something's a problem.
It's like we just need a button to stop. Like we have the robot and we just have the big red button.
over-engineered.
We just need to be sitting in the back seat with a button just like ready to press it at any point.
Yeah.
That's kind of all I need.
Would you get in a self-driving airplane for a cross country flight.
Yeah.
That pretty much happens.
Airplanes are already
Yeah,
basically.
but
know.
but no pilot in there to do anything.
Yes, 100%.
I don't know enough about how much pilots do.
I probably
I know
don't
a lot
know
about
enough.
how we drive, but I don't know enough about what pilots are for.
I could be more. I could be convinced. I don't know. Anyways, Adam, what is your thought process on this?
In its current state, I would not do it. I could see it getting there in the future, and I'll do it. I also did a BMW self-driving demo in Vegas.
Yeah, for a CS.
And that was terrifying.
It was,
And it was like,
But
Like
exhilarating.
everything at CES.
yeah.
I got more exhilaration than terror.
Well, yeah, because you were like, am I going to die?
Yeah.
I don't know. Who
I
knows?
enjoyed that.
So it was a fun experience. But then thinking about like if an Uber just pulled up right now to take me home and there's no one in the front seat.
Take me home to.
Not a
Don't you
chance.
feel like if it's like publicly accessible and on the road and gonna pick you up, that it's safe enough to take you home?
No.
I guess
we have
not-
many things that are on the road right now that are not safe.
Like people.
Like the Hummer EV.
Well, yeah, like the Hummer.
it's a great point. But yeah, there is an element of like, are we being beta tested on? Like sometimes there are real technologies that are
in San
out,
Francisco, yeah.
yeah, in the world where I'm like, just because it's out doesn't mean it's good. They're absolutely racing to be first, and I don't want to use this just because it's
Totally.
out. And I think
Yeah.
it interestingly with the self-driving cars, it doesn't feel that way. It feels
Yeah.
like they could have been out a while ago and probably been just as good as they are now, but they have to be so sure
So careful.
that they're really careful to not ruin everything with one mistake,
Yeah.
that they probably are even safer than you think.
It's kind of like how Tesla takes the heat with all the negative press that electric cars get.
Yeah.
Right? Like anytime anything happens to a Tesla,
Every car fire.
yeah, every car fire. Yeah, I mean, there's a million car fires, but anytime it's a Tesla, the headlines are Tesla catches fire, and it's like,
Yeah.
I do think we'll see more EVs just in that light in
Probably,
general. Now that there's
probably.
more of them.
yeah,
Yeah.
Big oil.
I just want to throw one more idea out there. Maybe let this idea marinate in your brains. I don't think people are unsafe. I think cars are just inherently unsafe. Like
That
as
is
a concept.
tricky. That is tricky.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Just throwing that out there.
I feel like the only problem with posing that question is it makes it feel like all people are safe, where like there are plenty of people.
No, there are plenty of drivers I hope to never encounter on the road.
Yes.
Don't get me wrong.
I just want to clarify
But
that.
I think
But it's not fun unless it's a one or the other.
Yeah.
No
Yeah.
context.
Cars are, it's not that they're unsafe, it's that the way that we drive them around right now is unsafe. Like if you flip the switch tomorrow and every car became a self-driving car, I think that would be a lot more safe.
yeah.
Than
If
a
that's
mix,
If every car
if
could
every
could
car
become
was a self-driving
car,
car,
it would be way more safe.
versus a mix
Exactly.
of people and
Absolutely.
self-driving
That's the
cars.
real challenge.
Yeah.
I was just on another podcast talking about this. I'm not going to spoil it too much, but the idea of every car being a self-driving car, I'm
5G.
pretty sure we've also talked to Neil deGrasse Tyson about this, possibly. But you can picture like a superhighway of just cars going 100 miles an hour, and they all talk to each other, and they all can like immediately make moves, all computer controlled, and just like get you as fast and as safe
Yeah.
as possible to your location. But there's no way to get to that future
Yeah.
without getting through all the complexities of some cars are self-driving and some are 10 years old, and
Yeah.
they're humans, and you can't get there without going through it.
Ironically, this analogy is like the Windows versus Mac analogy, or the Android versus iOS analogy, mostly Windows versus Mac.
I'm listening.
Because so Windows has to be like backwards compatible with a ton of enterprise software, right? And and government software and all this stuff. So none of it, you can't really like switch to a whole new development platform and be like everyone has to change. But Apple can literally be like, if you don't update your app to support this or like be based on this, we will just take you off the App Store.
Yeah.
So you can't take every car and be like, you have to retrofit your car.
We'll take
to
you
have
off
this
the road.
5G thing so it can talk to all the other.
Fair.
Yeah, but I do love the theoretical where every single car is a self-driving car, because you can literally like not have roads and just have like one big plane and everything's just weaving through each other at like 150 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
Seems pretty sweet.
What?
Yeah.
Where would the buildings go? You can't just have one big plane.
You could, and the buildings are on the perimeter.
That sounds like a terrible place to live. A big ring of buildings filled with a autonomous car deathmatch. Like,
Hypothetical, okay?
what are you talking about?
The point I'm making is that you don't have to have everything go like straight or sideways. It can just kind of, they can weave between each other without
Yeah.
slowing down at all.
I hear that.
Theoretically.
Theoretically.
Yeah. But we've also built lots of roads already.
Yes.
So we kind of just
We
kinda
don't
just,
need
like,
any more.
Yeah.
aim to fit the roads we've built.
Yeah.
Also, David,
Yeah.
this is America.
Also, Marquez hasn't given us his answer on this yet.
I would take a self-driving Uber.
Okay, well, no one cares.
I mean, you knew my answer already.
Wait, so
I kind of
shocker.
do. But you didn't say it, and I didn't want to skip
okay.
it.
five of us,
Yeah.
it's 40-60. Me and Marquez versus all you
Interesting.
freaks. Little freaks.
Okay.
See you on the perimeter of the plane.
Mad Max over here.
But then you try and stumble upon it, and you have to put an invite code in.
Oh my god.
You can X out of it.
Oh, you can.
I I have the invite code right here while I was looking it up. Do you want it right now? It's LIKEANDSUBSCRIBE. It's like and subscribe
Oh.
if you want to take the time.
Not in the podcast. I thought you were spelled